Okay, the next session we've got here is one that revolves around on-site tech, and we wanted this to be a show and tell. I'm going to invite the guys up to speak. We've got TopCon up first. They're going to talk about the kit that they've brought, what it can do, and how it can interact with the site teams, and the benefits they can get from it. And then I'm going to invite the Balfour Beatty guys. Where are they? Where's the... There. He's outside. Is he coming in? No. Okay, right, okay. We're going to have a couple of presentations, 5 minutes each, and then we're going to have a Q&A panel session. We'll bring some chairs up. We've not put the chairs up yet because you wouldn't be able to see the screen, so we'll do that in a few moments. But can I invite TopCon to come and give us the SP on the... oh, what's happened there? Okay.
Starting me off.
There we go. I'm on your first slide. Thank you.
Hello everybody, good morning. Just to give you a brief introduction of who we are. So we're TopCon, we were formed in 1932 in Tokyo in Japan. We've got two divisions, positioning and medical. We've got over 4,900 employees worldwide. 93 total companies under the TopCon umbrella, so even though we're just TopCon, we have a lot of organizations under there. Complete with development and manufacturing facilities in 26 different countries. Large turnover in excess of 1.5 billion US dollars. Hundreds of patents and world's first technologies as well. In the UK, we run from our central office in Tamworth in the Midlands. This is our training centre, distribution centre, organisation for administration, everything all done from the one office. We've got satellite workers then working around the UK. Myself, I'm Andy Clifton. I'm a senior support engineer with the organisation, so I do training and support across our geospatial and machine control systems. I've been with TopCon now for 22 years, for my sins, and I'm also our STEM and educational ambassador as well. So when we're looking at construction, and especially when we start talking about machine control and why we think it's important, is within construction, we've seen a decrease in productivity really over the years. When we compare ourselves to similar industries in agriculture and general manufacturing, we're very much flatlining and even falling behind. And machine control is one way that we can help turn that trend around. When we're looking at digital construction and machine control, we also need to look at an integrated solution. And when we're looking at that, when we're looking at an integrated solution, what we're talking about is the complete project lifestyle from conception right the way through construction to hand over to the end client as well. With TopCon, we work with third-party providers such as Autodesk, Bentley, etc., to provide software solutions and hardware solutions that link all of that together right the way through the life cycle of the project. When we're looking at machine control, though, we're really looking at how that increases your productivity on site, decreases your costs, helps with your environmental processes, etc., with your fuel and maintenance costs coming down, and also saves time through better sharing of data with remote data transfer, operator support through the internet, etc. In TopCon, we call our remote system SiteLink 3D. With this, we have direct connection to all of the machines working on site. We can see in near real time everything that's happening. So we can see where the machine's digging, where the material's moved. With haul truck plans, we can see where that material's being moved. Make sure that it's being moved in the most efficient way. There's no bottlenecks in the plans or anything like that. And the data can then also be fed back into the system, so it can update your projects and your scheduling at the end of the day. So rather than waiting for the end of the week for a surveyor to go out and check the site, the machines are feeding that information back and it's being updated in real time and all your schedules are being updated. There's also a side benefit of safety as well. So with machine control, we can add in safety zones. So if an operator goes into a zone, it will warn them that there's maybe power lines or anything like that, and they need to be careful within that. The other thing we need to look at, and apologies to our host today, but most sites will have multiple different brands of machine. So this is where, when you're looking at a TopCon system, it comes in, because we can fit that to any brand of machine. It means that every single machine can talk to each other, works into the same system. We can see all of them together as well. Let's just go back to that decrease in productivity slide. So where it's costing us time and money, let's have a look at that into a simple system. So we've had a comparative study done. And I updated the figures on fuel yesterday. They've probably changed again by today, the way the fuel prices are going. But that's the big takeaway for me on here. And this is also a green credential. So you can see here, by using machine control, we've saved 77 litres of fuel just doing 250-metre pipe runs. So that's a massive cost saving of £80, but it's also a 22% saving in fuel, so that's your green credentials there as well. And that's on top of the other material savings, time savings, wear and tear savings, etc. And not forgetting as well the health and safety by not having a grade checker in the trench as well. So thank you very much. That's me, and I'll hand over to your next speaker.
Yeah, the use of these machines on site, when I first started as setting out engineer, the output that you get from the modern machines was, well, it was significantly down, certainly when I was bashing pegs in, because it was an endless, thankless task. And to see the outputs now, these new machines, is just incredible. For me, if anybody asked me what was the biggest contributor, I'd have to say it's the advent of 3D machine control and all the other bits that go with it. It's fabulous to see, and it puts a smile on a lot of faces. We can still go out and do the odd peg here and there, but it's great. Can I invite Mark now to the stage? Mark Reed from COMIT. Mark's going to talk about this thing, which you may have seen wandering around. I'm hoping it's going to come in a minute. I don't know where it's gone, but I'm sure it's having a nap. Mark.
Okay, thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Mark Reed, UK Sales Director at COMIT Group. COMIT, for those of you that don't know, we are the Trimble distributor in the UK, and Trimble is one of the world's largest manufacturers of digital construction technology. I've been asked today to talk briefly about construction robotics, and in particular Spot the dog, who is here somewhere. If it's not coming in now, it's outside wandering around. Balfour Beatty have been kind enough to bring along their Spot the dog to show you today. And I'm going to talk to you briefly about why construction robotics matter. You know, why should we be interested in construction robotics? I think most people here know that the vast majority of projects overrun in terms of budget and in terms of schedule. And one of the ways that we can target that is by having a really comprehensive, detailed overview of our construction sites as often as possible, so we have the information to make the right decisions. And that's really where I think construction robotics can play a big part. So I would say meet the Spot the dog, but he's outside, so you'll have to meet him afterwards. But Spot the dog is an agile robotic platform developed by Boston Dynamics. It's a system that can operate autonomously around a site. It has object collision avoidance. It has dynamic stability, so it can operate in very difficult terrains that you might experience in a construction site. It can go up and down stairs, so it can actually operate in a way that many other technologies might struggle. So tracked robotics or even drones might struggle in certain construction sites, where an actual agile dog as such can actually get in there and operate in a way that other technology can't. So it offers a huge potential, particularly when we combine it with different sensors such as the Trimble surveying solutions, to be able to document our sites at a kind of level of detail and temporal resolution that's not normally possible using manual survey solutions. And all of that information we can capture can really give us the information that we need to make those decisions on site. So Trimble actually have a strategic alliance with Boston Dynamics. This alliance is to directly integrate a number of different digital construction technologies onto the robotic platform. And one of the first ones that we started with is the laser scanning solution. So you can see there the Trimble X7 laser scanner on the platform. And the nice thing about this is, because it's fully integrated, we actually use the same field-link software to operate both the robotic platform and the laser scanner. So it is a single integrated solution. So this really is, we like to say, it is a working dog. This is not a sure dog. This is not future technology. This is something that you can use now. Effectively, the way it works, and you'll see it outside, is we have to train the dog first. So we actually have to take it for a bit of a walk, show it the route around the site that we want it to capture. We tell it where we want it to take the laser scans. Once we've done that, it is then set up that it can automatically do the site capture. So it'll actually go along, it will walk around the site, it will take the laser scans, it will register them together, and at the end of the mission, it will come back to its dock to charge again, and it will upload that data into the cloud. So when you come back the next day onto site, you already have a full 3D documented site compared against your BIM model, so you know your construction progress and you know your construction verification. So really, the vision for construction robotics is not to replace humans. It's actually to get robots working collaboratively with humans to really undertake the tasks, the repetitive tasks, the dangerous tasks, the dirty tasks that we don't want humans doing. So us humans can actually work on the important stuff, the skill stuff, the analysis, the actual things which are going to help us keep our projects on schedule, deliver on budget, and at the same time keeping it safe and reducing our carbon footprint. So we have an early adopter program. As you can see, Balfour Beatty are one of the first organisations to start implementing the platform, and I'll let Harry and Mark talk a little bit later about how they see that technology being adopted and being implemented on their projects. We also have BAM here today. BAM are one of the other companies on the technology program that have actually done quite an interesting project by deploying the dog on a site that has a dedicated 5G network. So they can actually operate the dog completely remotely over the 5G network, which is quite a unique trial and really at the cutting edge of what we can do with the solution. So like I say, I am here all day. Please come and find me if you want to talk about or ask any further discussions about the technology. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, thank you very much for that. Can I invite Harry, Mark, and Paul to come to the stage, pick up a chair, and sit yourselves down. And we've got some questions. We've got some questions that we've pre-planned, sent in, and I'm going to invite some questions from the audience. I know there's a few people who want to ask some questions, but yeah. So, welcome, Mark, Paul, and Harry. Harry's from Balfour Beatty. Paul is from Kia. And Mark is from BAM. We need the microphone, yes please, yep. Thanks for that, Max. Okay, so the first question I've got is, I'm going to give this one to Harry actually. With all we've just heard, where do you think efficiencies can be gained in the machine control process? We've heard about time and speed on construction sites, but where else do you feel we need to improve?
Good question. So in my role, I head up BIM and digital for Balfour Beatty Major Posts and Highways, and I work very closely with our design partners, so Atkins, Marks WSP and Jacobs, and it is involving them at an early stage in that construction sequencing. Getting the models and designs to a level of informational need which can go into the machine control and information sort of systems that we've seen today. If we don't develop it at that level of detail, it normally goes to a survey team, which have to basically sort of look at the data, re-engineer the data kind of thing to get it onto site. So I think the key thing there is we need to get left and engage more kind of designers to get the right data in the right formats. Let's not get rid of the role with kind of our surveyors. They still need to check the data to make sure the levels are all correct. But kind of for now, hope we get more increased information from our design partners.
Sure. And what is being done to make that happen?
So for ourselves in Balfour Beatty, kind of I'm engaged kind of with my team in that early doors. So we basically look at the designs kind of for that from clash detection that everyone knows. Actually, it's not just about clash. It's actually we need to look at things such as cost, productivity, but also is it fit for setting out? So these checks kind of from we do before we get the data and approve the data to go to site.
Okay. Thank you, Harry. Is there any reaction from the audience? Any thoughts and ideas on that? Yes. Kevin. Yep.
I'd just like to ask the question on how you can influence, let's call it the constructability of the design.
Yep.
So very often the design process is looking at the final state, it's not looking at how elements are constructed, which has a massive effect on productivity, sustainability, etc. Do you have any thoughts on that, please?
No, that's a really good question. So I mentioned earlier on about getting left in the process. I do not want to have something issued to me, which me, in ISO terms, kind of filling out is basically an A status kind of filling out and a CO1 contractual revision. By that time, and that kind of thing, actually, have I inputted into it? And some of the time, that is no. So we need to get left in the process there. So in S1 stage, and that kind of thing, which is a check stage, we should be checking the cost, the programme, constructability. I'm currently working on the National High Smart Motorway Alliance, but before that I was on HS2 area north of Balfour Beatty Vinci. So on a Wednesday we had something called Progressive Assurance Wednesdays. So there kind of when we was looking at the models, not just from a clash perspective and trying to get the clashes out, we was basically putting comments into the models kind of thing, basically going, actually no, the cost is too high. Actually, what is the specification? What is the material? And asking them questions early at that stage. So it is having that early engagement now.
Thanks, Harry.
Good question.
I'm going to ask Mark now. Mark, if I can, in the last 5 to 10 years, machine control has been the norm for construction projects, or has become the norm. What do you see as being the likely biggest change that will happen to site work with new technology?
Yep.
I appreciate there's a bit of overlap with what Harry said, but...
So, I'm Mark Bruton, Chief Engineering Surveyor for BAM. Within BAM, I think we've been using machine guidance. In BAM, we call it machine guidance as opposed to machine control for probably maybe the last 20 years, something like that. And we have seen an incredible change over the years. And I suppose over the last 4 years, the biggest change that we've seen within BAM is the adoption of machine guidance within the operated plant suppliers. So the take-up of machine control by our suppliers has been incredible. You know, a lot of them have now got dedicated survey teams. They've got teams that can handle models. Got teams that can do digital. They really have changed the way they work. And partly the reason is because they're seeing the benefit. Safety number one and fuel number two. Those are the two big benefits. Where it's going. I think we're probably going to see more and more automated machines, and already, some of the automated dozers and excavators, you're seeing incredible gains on some of those tools, so that's probably where it's going. It's not just machine guidance that we're seeing where this is going. Harry spoke a little bit about the design side of things. So it's also key to what we're doing. We're working with our design partners to not just design for machine guidance, but design for digital setting out. So, we do a lot of setting out in all different types of things, whether it's M&E, putting bolt holes in, drilling bolt holes into, fixing holes into ceilings or soffits. These all have got to be designed, and they're all digital models. So we've got to really work quite closely with some of our designers.
Sure. I mean, the other benefits to add to those that have already been mentioned is the right first time, which. Yeah, we'd like, as engineers, we'd like to say we did get it right first time, but we didn't. I'll be honest about it, we didn't. But with the right first time, we've got another shot at it, and it is happening. We mentioned reduced fuel usage. That's very clear. And the other one is less wear and tear. And the other one, which people fail to mention, is at the end of a job, we're scrabbling around to produce an as-built programme. Well, we've got as-built information, haven't we?
Yeah, so where you can start seeing where this is going, and maybe JCB touched on it, they've got telematic systems now, and some of these systems will be able to monitor and give you live feedback directly from the machine. So, some of the top kinds of Trimbles and the Leicas have all got specialized software where we can manage these machines in real time, and we can look at these machines working in real time. And this is fabulous for managing projects. So, yeah, so.
Sure. Okay, great. Can I turn now to Paul? Paul, you're with the utilities sector of Kia. And the question I've got for you is, where do you think cost reductions can be made in your area in terms of productivity gained in reactive utility work?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. As Stuart mentioned, my name's Paul Wallace. I work for Kia in the utilities business unit. And in utilities, the biggest problems that we face is that we do fairly low-tech repair work, very high touch on big networks, and we don't know where our next job is. And in terms of what these guys have been talking about, they have the luxury of design timescales that we don't. Partly because water companies need to get the water back on within 3 hours, otherwise they suffer penalty with Ofwat. So for us around productivity, it's got to be about trying to reduce our excavation size. So one of the things, or some of the things we're working on at the moment, is trying to exploit the use of suction excavation. But that alone will not help. It also needs to be coupled with getting the smallest possible footprint in the tarmac surface taken out quickly, the suction excavator to take the spoil away, and then using, at the moment, what I would say on our technology journey is at a fairly early part of the journey, in that we don't really have automated machines. I'd love a machine that could do the learning and repair a pipe without putting a person inside the excavation. Now, we've been doing some of those trials, but with long-handled tools. So it's fairly primitive in terms of what it is, but certainly what I've seen today and what I've heard from this forum is that we can start to develop things. This kit works on big construction sites, but how do we get that to the more mobile part of our operations? And just to put that into a little bit of context, so the client that I know the most, that I've worked with the most, is Anglian Water. They have a 36,000 kilometre network of water pipes, and we do about 40,000 excavations a year. We don't know where they're going to be next. But in terms of the question, in terms of the efficiency, reducing the footprint of what we do, because if we can reduce the footprint of what we do, we save money on materials costs, we improve our carbon footprint, we improve our health and safety by not putting a person inside the excavation to be associated with service strikes. If we can get the machine to do the job and to do the scanning around the asset, then that's the golden. That's the holy grail that we're trying to get to.
What do you do with the data that you currently capture through trial holes and whatever? Where does that go?
Well, it goes back into corporate systems. But
Okay.
as you can imagine, there's a lot of data, and you don't always. The systems don't always have the capacity to capture all of the right level of information. So it's a fairly standardised set of what was the depth, what was the material, and so forth, and that's useful for the future. But it's actually what makes the job more difficult that's probably most important. What adjacent services did you encounter? Was the original plans right or wrong? What kit did you use? Did the job go well? So then we can repeat it.
Yeah.
If we can get repetitive solutions built in, that might work for 80% of all of our jobs. We'll still have the 20% that sits outside the standard, but that will help.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for that. Can I ask about the Geospatial Commission and the inclusion of NUA? Is that beginning to have an effect? Is that driving people in the right direction?
Well, it is, but you've got, in terms of what you've got to remember is that whether it's a water or an energy or a telecoms company, their asset base is huge, and it's all stored on their own individual systems that won't talk to each other. So you've got lots of information that also they wouldn't necessarily want to share with others as well. So I think there is still the challenge. The challenge is definitely there to overcome that, to get it into that arena. But at least everybody is showing intent to work together to do that.
It's an interesting discussion, and we've held a couple of webinars around this subject in the past 2 years. It's certainly a subject that's going to continue to run and run. And I've got a particular interest in it because it was the biggest frustration to me when I was on a construction project. I can't go to work because there's a service in the way. Where they said it was, it's not. So you've either got to redesign or change the location of the service, and it just adds to the length of the programme. So, well, thank you for that. I've got one other question. How are we doing for time, Mr. Chairman?
About 7 minutes.
7 minutes, okay. One other question. Where are we headed on fully automated plant on site? Who wants to take that? Is that Harry? Is that yours first? And then let Mark speak?
No, it's a place we need to go. Have we got the staff to deliver the spend and that kind of thing out of construction? And that's the key issue. So this is where kind of thing, so there's going to be a driver kind of thing that I feel personally, that kind of thing, we need to have automated plants, but it's got to be trusted, it's got to be safe, that kind of thing, for it to operate on sites. And if we can start trusting that, like that kind of thing, sort of like the robotic dog and everything else there to go and do these tasks, then I think we see adoption kind of thing going forward.
If you look at
staff is a key outcome and question.
If you look, thank you for that. If you look at some of the big mines in the world, a lot of the plant, or a good portion of the plant, is automated. I don't know how far they've gone to expanding that across the projects, but it's beginning to happen. Could we trust that happening on construction projects now? The answer is probably no. There's too many other interfaces that would prevent it happening. But it's good to know that we've got an aspiration and things, people are doing it. Mark, have you got any views on that?
One extra one there.
Go on, sorry.
Sort of Balfour Beatty invested quite a lot of money in a Balfour Beatty Flannery plant yard up in the Midlands, and that's where we're training a lot of staff at the moment in time. They're coming new into the industry, so you are in a safe location to actually get experience and training. So that's sort of like the gap we're trying to fill at the moment in time by doing that. So it's a key thing there we've got so people coming out of schools, people coming out of universities, people might be in other jobs. So we've got that large yard there for people to go and basically sort of do that in a safe location to close that skills gap.
Sure. Thank you for that, Harry. Mark, have you got any thoughts on it?
So the way I sort of see it is it's still baby steps. So you've got to just make sure can't just jump to fully autonomous in one step. You've got to take your steps. And so the next steps, I see more semi-autonomous machines. So what we would call machine control, where the machine is being controlled by the model, but still being operated by a driver. But I mean, we are seeing at the last show that I went to, I think it's Bomag, they've got driverless rollers now. So we are starting to see this thing, and so it is going to happen. It's just, I think we've got a few more steps to take before we get there.
Sure. Do you think there'll be more use of drones to make this happen?
It's a good question. Drones is a tool within the industry, and it's just we've got to ensure that we're using the right tool for the right operation.
Sure, sure. Okay, thank you for that. We've got a few more minutes left. Can I invite some more questions from the floor? Can't quite see the back. Any more questions?
I'll ask a question.
Go on then. There you go.
The buried services world, great. Buried services world, and that whole thing. I find that fascinating that and this comes back to my national digital twin world, that circuit board. What you're digging out the ground is my circuit board in a lot of cases. We can see all the stuff on the surface, like the power lines, the waterways, the roads, the things like that, but we can't see what you are discovering and what you're burying. And the question was, that information at the moment, that's being held by the owners, I presume, and what's the incentive for you to feed back accurate information, not just about the stuff that you're doing, but what's the stuff in the ground? What's the incentive there for you to do that? And if there isn't an incentive directly, because it's costing you money or costing you time to do that doesn't give you a reward, what do you think we can do about it?
So I think in terms of incentivisation, if the job didn't go to plan because something else was not where it should have been, then there's an incentivisation to feed that back to prevent that happening next time. If you find something that wasn't exactly to plan but it didn't really interfere with what you're doing, there's actually very little incentivisation, and it probably doesn't happen. And I think that a national approach to it would be getting the best value out of every excavation, regardless of who's digging it and for why. Because if all of those services could be checked against all plans, for all clients, for all owners of assets along the way, that would be worth doing. And one of the challenges around productivity is to try and do things fast. If you can do things fast, then get on with the job and only do what you need to do, backfill, reinstate. So I think getting that incentivisation into the agenda of asset owners to say, if client number one helps you out with improving your accuracy of your asset base when they do their excavation, and for the benefit of that, you can share that information back, then that might be a way of being able to do it. But it is really hard. It is really hard because each company is competing against each other, whether that's in the telecoms, the energy or the water world.
It's another topic for later, incentive or mandate. Yes. But we'll save that one, should we?
Yes. Beat them with a stick. It's the only way.
Indeed, yeah, indeed. Tony?
If I could just comment on that final remark. There was a major research project called Mapping the Underworld, which was run by Birmingham University, which was trying to link up the sort of databases that did exist on buried utilities to try and produce the circuit board for the national digital twin. I don't know where that's got to, but it was, you know, it's a lifelong project, so it's still going on. So Professor Chris Rogers at Birmingham University was running it.
Thank you.
Catch up on that a bit later. I'll know more.
I'll just finish up then. I'll just say the incentive versus mandate, it's an incredibly emotive subject. We've had a few people get very hot and bothered about it, but it needs to be discussed. We've got a great vehicle in the Geospatial Commission, and newer, you know, it needs help potentially. So we can take that up again. I'd like to say thanks to all of our panellists, to Balfour Beatty, to Kia and to BAM. To get Tier 1 contractors on the stage to speak is brilliant. It doesn't happen very often, so revel in the fact. So thank you very much to all three of our panellists. Thank you very much. Cheers. Cheers. And thank you also to our solution providers for bringing along the kit. Yeah. One thing I will say is Spot is shy and Spot is outside, and we can all see Spot afterwards.